I am joined by Gwen Collins-Greenup. She is running for Secretary of State. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So Gwen, 3 times. This is your 3rd time running for the office. You must really want to be Secretary of State.
Well, Karen, I really want to protect our right to vote. This is the most important position when it comes to doing that, because the Secretary of State is the overseer of all of our elections in the state of Louisiana. So it's important that someone that people can trust to protect our voting rights as well as secure our elections is at the helm.
So help voters understand a little bit about your background. What makes you qualified for the post?
Well, Karen, I am an attorney, an accountant, and a small business owner who has spent her entire career serving and protecting the rights of the people and businesses of Louisiana. I've also worked with elections, which is something that I enjoy, as well as I'm a former court director of one of the largest courts in the state of Louisiana. So I want to put that experience to work for us, as well as my experience working with nonprofits and churches to do outreach and engagement. I want to put all that experience together to strengthen our Secretary of State's office, our businesses, as well as secure our elections and protect every eligible Louisiana citizen's right to vote.
So with your vision for the Secretary of State's office, do you have some specific action points or plans that you want to enact should you be elected to the post?
Absolutely. We actually plan to, first of all, strengthen our businesses. A lot of candidates don't lead with that, but I do, because we have a great commercial division, and having had several small businesses throughout the years, they were an intricate part of ensuring that business registrations are done properly, as well as for domestic and outside agencies and corporations that want to do business here. But we also have our voter outreach division, which is either not being utilized or underutilized. And I believe that I would like to work with them through that department, which is already here, to reach out to voters by bringing our voting machines to middle schools to help show our young people how to vote, why it's important, and how it's the way we make change in our state and our communities. And I will further that outreach to our nonprofits and organizations in the community that want to ensure that people have voter education and voter outreach, and they become more engaged in the election process.
So I want to revisit the idea about business registration as part of the Secretary of State's responsibilities. Do you believe there are things we can do to streamline it, make it more accessible? I want to hear specifically your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. One of the things that I hear from not only business owners but voters is that the website is very confusing. All of the information, I always tell them it's there. It's just not probably organized in a way that's user-friendly, so I want to tackle that. The next thing I want to tackle is business identity theft. That is a new hot issue, and as an attorney, I've had customers that have dealt with that. And what that looks like is someone changing your business information during your renewal of your annual registration and replacing it with theirs, and then they become able to open up businesses in other areas, to apply for things with business credit in your name, and to open up bank accounts, because the Secretary of State's website is used to verify our business registrations when we do those things. So I'd like to have more resources available on the website that will help businesses combat that, and I'd like to be proactive and work with them to do it.
So that's happening now. That's becoming an issue?
Happening. Yes, that's actually happening. It's much like when people steal your identity and file taxes, or steal your identity and apply for other items on credit, and it happens to businesses. So I'm not the state's attorney, but I definitely use my legal experience and my business knowledge to help develop resources that are useful to business owners.
So one of the issues we found with this election year is a small turnout. We'll say that politely. There seems to be a little bit of voter apathy when it comes to the polls. What can the Secretary of State do to help foster more voter participation in future elections?
Well, looking toward our future, I believe our right to choose what's best for our future, our family, our community, and our state, that's what truly makes Louisiana great. So I want to start with our young people and help develop, foster that trust in our election system and that fervor that they need to develop that interest. And I want, when they get 17 and they go in to get their first ID or driver's license, for them to take that knowledge that they've developed over the years and ask us if they can register to vote rather than us asking them, and them being proactive rather than reactive to what we are asking them to do. I'd also want to look at our voter turnout rates. When I first ran, I noted that we had nearly 3 million registered voters, with less than 15% participating in most elections. Our low voter turnout rates leave about 450,000 people making decisions for 4.6 million Louisianians. That was so concerning to me that I was willing to give up my law practice to run for Secretary of State, and this is my third time, and we see that dismal turnout in the last election cycle in the primary. We have to do something about that. And as the Secretary of State, the head election official in the state, I want to be proactive and be a people-facing Secretary of State that continues to engage voters after I'm elected to have that trust in our system, put the protections in place that will help them develop that trust, and run a transparent process for bidding out our next voting machines.
So that brings me to my next question. The voting machines, that seems to be a hot topic in the race for Secretary of State. There's differing opinions among candidates as to whether or not the state needs to retire its 30-plus-year-old machines and replace them with machines that have an auditable paper trail.
Absolutely.
Where do you stand on that?
Well, I stand where I stood 5 years ago. I was the first person to note the need for that paper trail. And I'm proud to say that after much voicing of not my opinion, but my experience as an accountant, I know how important having that auditable paper trail is. You know, that's how we verify that the votes that we cast are the votes that are counted. I'm proud to say that our legislature implemented in 2021 a law that requires that paper backup. And we're now looking at holding a very transparent bidding process where the people who are up for the bid, I would have those vendors bring those voting machines to each of the 9 regions of the state so voters can test them out just like we do when we purchase a car, and be confident that we are being open and transparent with that bidding process. But I'd also go even further to say that we will follow the law and we will implement what is considered best practices nationwide, and that is getting a voting system that has that paper backup that can be used for post-election audits. And it can bring trust and confidence to our voting process, as well as help people become more engaged and ensure them that they can have full confidence and trust in our election system.
Very good. And my final question before we go, what differentiates yourself from your opponent?
Well, Karen, I would say what differentiates us is Nancy is a great person. I believe that we both want the same thing, and that's what's in the best interest of the citizens of Louisiana. I want to not only strengthen our businesses, but protect our elections and secure every eligible Louisiana citizen's right to vote. And in doing so, I have experience not only working in government and in business, but I also have experience working across the aisles. I always like to say, if you're working with people with nonprofits and churches, you're working with people who don't have to be there. They choose to be there. And it's important to be able to work with a legislature that is predominantly Republican. I am the people's candidate for Secretary of State, so I will maintain a nonpartisan office while I'm conservative fiscally and conservative in my values. I am a people person, and I will continue to do so. I want to bring trust and transparency to this office, but I also want to use my experience working with elections as well as my experience in law, business, and community outreach to engage our voters, bring trust to the Secretary of State's office, as well as secure our elections and protect our right to vote.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Gwen. Collins-Greenup, candidate for Louisiana Secretary of State.
Thank you for having me.